there. I am Kimberly HayDay Muga,
And I'm Amanda Day,
and you're listening to the Fundraising HayDay podcast,
where we cover the how-tos of grants and fundraising.
and how all of us, every last thinking one of us, can do a better job of changing the world for the better through philanthropy if only we would.
And Patreon subscribers get these episodes early.
So as you're planning your educational, professional development-y kinds of events and things for the year and beyond, keep us in mind here at Fundraising HayDay Services. We are keynoting in 2025. We are webinaring, we are workshopping, and many other gerunds that have to do with presenting. We're also available to podcast at your events and do special podcast episodes or mini series for you. You know, if that's something that you think might be fun and exciting, you just drop us a line. And really what Amanda and I bring to it is, as you might have gathered, if you are a first-time listener, welcome, hi, hello. If you're a long-time listener, you know that we are informal, I think is a great way to describe our presentation style. And we believe that you can share important information, but it doesn't have to be in a dry as dust, super boring way where no one pays attention, so they don't get to absorb that super important information. We have worked with small, intimate gatherings or large 1,000 people plus events and everything in between. And if you would like to learn more, you just stroll on down to haydayservices.com. That's HAYDAY services.com and click on the training and coaching page.
That's right. We'd love to join you at a future event. Interacting with others in the world of philanthropy is one of our favorite things to do. So,
Yep.
In the meantime, today we're talking about a topic that has been on my heart and mind for a few years now, and that is imposter syndrome.
Through that. So listen, y'all, we are thrilled to have Kim Joyce and Associates returning as the season 8 sponsor for the first half of our season 8, which is crazy. CEO Kim Joyce and her team are celebrating 15 years of success with new service lines, all while expanding the depth and the breadth of their existing services. Kim is joining us to talk about trends in the field and more with a mini series that you'll hear at the beginning of each of the 12 episodes that Kim Joyce and Associates are sponsoring this season. So y'all, KJA recently launched Grant Gossip, which is kind of like Ask the Expert, but sounds like a whole lot more fun. Kim, can you share with our listeners how this works and what it's all about?
Sure. Grant Gossip is a subscription-based product, and it's really to have access to our team of experts pre-award through post-award monthly to talk about all things grants. So we'll have different topics to discuss each session, each month, and enrollment will be extremely limited. We want to be able to provide the best experience and value possible for each participant.
Nice.
To find out more about Kim Joyce and Associates and their many incredible service lines, visit kimjoyceandassociates.com. They are a one-stop shop for all your grant-related needs. So I wanted to discuss imposter syndrome on the podcast for a couple of reasons. Number one being I have experienced it in my life. Number two, I know a lot of grant professionals who have as well. And number three, I truly believe that most of us who feel like imposters are really, really darn good at what we do in our jobs. And I hate that people don't fully recognize that. So I'd love to kick off the episode with each of us, Kimberly and I, sharing our experiences with imposter syndrome because it looks different for everybody. So Kimberly, do you care to share your experience?
I can absolutely kick us off. And I think it's, for me, in the imposter syndrome, I can't control what other people think about me or what they choose to believe or not believe. You know, I can't control that at all. And so for me, imposter syndrome is not so much people don't recognize me as I believe that I am not deserving of a place and time to do this specific thing or this other thing. So I kind of back off and don't want to participate. So it's actually super internalized, and it's not better or worse. It's just maybe different than I think you might be talking about. Um, so earlier on in my career, when I was learning how grants work and how to put them together, I was like, oh, I'll never get this, or I'll never get grants right, and I probably shouldn't speak up. That was one form of imposter syndrome, but in another part of my life, most recently, it's been around me as a writer, as writing fiction and participating in dialogue with published writers and with agents and editors in workshop environments or conferences. And just that feeling of, I'm not good enough. I should probably just not say anything, or I shouldn't speak up, or they're not going to take me seriously because of X and Y. And that's where it's hit me the hardest. And it just took me a long time to realize the only way for me to get out of that was to push through it and keep doing it. And that's sort of that with that experience, it came more confidence, and also with more practice there's more confidence. But a lot of times that sort of syndrome, how it manifests in me, is that I can just sort of wind down and isolate and just not engage at all. It's tied a lot to perfectionism that I know you're going to talk about in a minute, but that's kind of how it comes out with me, is like, oh, no one's going to take me seriously because I don't have a MFA, Masters of Fine Arts, or what have you.
Yeah. No. Well, what's interesting to me is you kind of think about it, it's like something you probably have early on in your career. And mine didn't hit me till later because when I first started, I mean, I got thrown into grants. I didn't have time to worry about it, and nobody else at my office was doing it. So they were just happy that I was tackling this thing. And so all I had time to do is put my head down and do the work. And I was pretty successful. I mean, I didn't get every grant, but I didn't know any other grant writer at the time. So I had no idea what was true and accurate. So mine really didn't hit me until I stopped working full time as an employee as a grants administrator, until I moved into I was training for Grant Writing USA, and I was starting to pick up some clients on my own. And I think it started there because, when you train, there's always going to be questions that you don't have the answer to. There's always going to be someone in the room that thinks they're smarter than you. They don't want to be there, and their job is to make you look like an idiot, right? So I was starting to experience some of that. I get that. I know I had that deer in the headlight looks of, oh my gosh, they asked me a question. I don't know what it is.
Right.
I first started consulting. I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't know if I was charging enough. I didn't know if I was handling my clients the right way. I mean, I knew I was getting grants for them, so I felt secure in that. But and I would look around at these other consultants, and you'd see what they're putting on LinkedIn and what they say they're doing and all these things. And so I think comparison is probably in questions and comparison is what started me to start having this imposter syndrome. And so it took me some time to realize, after talking to more people and realizing people who I thought had all their crap together were feeling the exact same things. And I was like, so basically, we're all just around here thinking everybody else has got it together when really nobody has all the answers, because who has all the answers? And once that hit me, I was like, oh, okay. And
Also, go ahead.
well, and funny, not funny, but one of the last trainings I did with Grant Writing USA, somebody I knew pretty well was training for the grant management class. They had been working on some other things. So they came and spent the same time with me. We were out in San Francisco doing training. And so during our downtime, we were spending a lot of time together too, because I knew her. And, she was asking me for tips and pointers. And two things. One is I was like, I learned quickly to finally, at the beginning of my thing, say, I know a lot of things about grants. I don't know everything. I don't think anybody does. So if you have a question that I don't know the answer, I'm going to turn it back to the room, because probably one of you know the answer, and I'm going to learn something new, because that's true. And that really helped on my feeling of, oh crap, I don't know this. I've already told them I ain't going to know it all. So I've set that expectation. So that really helped me. Um, and the other thing that really helped me after I said that was that she goes, really? You were nervous about doing this? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. I said, the first couple of months, I felt like I had no idea. And she was like, I never would have guessed. Like, and so realizing that all the things you're thinking, no one else is probably seeing, right? And so that really, I was appreciative of her saying that because I was like, well, I guess I was faking it till I make it, and I faked it pretty good, right? So those two things were things that helped me get over that, I guess, a little bit.
True that. True that. No, I was just going to chime in about that. And also, I would recommend being deeply suspicious of anyone who tells you that they do have all the answers, because they may be selling you trying to sell you something that may be useful or it may not. And I'm just deeply suspicious. The older I get, the more I'm like, you have all the answers. I doubt that. I'm 100% not here for it. And things change so much and people are so different. One size does not fit all. And
Yep.
the other thing I would add to that would help me sort of push through it in starting my own consulting practice, which I delayed for years because I was like, what I'm going to do, I don't know. It was, when I look back, I'm like, oh my Lord, she was so annoying, that woman, but it was me. But realizing that everybody else is feeling that too, and that no one is paying that much attention to you.
They're
It's the
not.
truth. Now, if you're teaching in the front of a class, if you're training, I hope they're paying attention to you. I hope you're working with them to make sure that they have a great learning experience. But in conferences, in networking opportunities, and meeting other people, everybody's dealing with their own shit, right? They're just dealing with their own stuff, and they're starring in their own movies
Yep.
that may be rife with all sorts of different types of imposter syndrome that Amanda's going to go over. But just realizing that, and that again, if you need to hear this again, and maybe you do, I certainly need to hear it all the time. Yeah, what people are putting out on their websites and in social media and throughout their professional networks is their very best, right? Because that's what you're supposed to do. That doesn't mean it's everything, it's just a representation of the very best.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, stuff's happening. So that's all I'm going to say. It happens to all of us. We're always doing that.
Yep, true story. So there is an article, we'll link that in the show notes. It's called Is Imposter Syndrome Holding You Back from Living Your Best Life?
Okay.
Why You Still Feel Like You're Faking When You've Already Made It. This was written by, forgive me if I mispronounce this individual's name, but it's written by Arlen Kick on September 23rd, 2024. And what I'm about to share, you can find tons of articles. This person didn't come up with it. There's lots of other articles and information about this, but this is the one I was pulling it from.
You want I'll just spell her name right quick for everybody. It's Arlen, Arlin, and her last name is Kuncic or Kuncic, Cuncic.
Yep.
So Arlen, we're sorry about mispronouncing your name, but if people want to look at that article up, that's how you spell it.
Yep, and it'll be in the show notes, like I said. So, so in the article, the author lists these 5 types of imposter syndrome, and I'm going to share this with you here. So, as you're thinking through and you feel like you've got imposter syndrome, you maybe think about if any of these resonate with you. So, the first one on the list is the perfectionist, and Kimberly has mentioned this time and time again. So, I'm going to guess this is you, Kimberly.
Oh my God! Well, I'm several of these, but that is top of the list, and it is nothing. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying it is. I feel it's a character flaw.
Oh, I don't think so. But yeah, so this is when you feel like if you didn't perform perfectly, then you could have done better. Your perfectionist traits make you believe you're not as good as others might think you are. Okay.
Yep.
Number 2 on the list is the expert. This is something I struggle with. So this is feeling like an imposter because you don't know everything there is to know about a subject or haven't mastered every step in a process. Because there is still more to learn, you clearly aren't an expert. Number 3 is the natural genius. You feel like a fraud simply because you don't believe that you are naturally intelligent or competent. If you don't get it right the first time or it takes you longer to master a skill, you must be an imposter.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, the soloist. Feeling like an imposter if you had to ask for help to reach a certain level or status. Clearly, if you can't get there on your own, you're not competent.
So,
The last one is the super person, believing that you must be the hardest worker or reach the highest level of achievement possible. And if you don't, you must be a fraud. So I think I struggle with that one a little bit too, because like I can't help myself. If I join a board, I'm probably going to serve as president before my term is over because I can't just sit back and be a board member. I don't know. I just don't have it in me.
that's true. That's true. That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
So
I think that most people experiencing this are a blend, might find themselves a blend of some of these things. So these
yeah,
are not
I agree.
like mutually exclusive categories. So, because yeah, it's born and bred into me for all kinds of cultural reasons that we've discussed on other podcast episodes, perfectionism, and for a long time, super person, right? I got over that, I would say about 10 or 15 years ago, but I finally realized it was detrimental, wasn't serving me. And it wasn't doing the good things that I wanted to help do or learn or be. It wasn't helping me at all. I feel like women in general, and this it general, like
Yeah.
generalizing alert, the soloist is really going to hit a lot of women hard. It's going to hit some men that way too, but the idea that you have to do everything on your own or you are dependent and you're weak. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe that could be affecting men too. That could be a trait of toxic masculinity, but that just made me think about like the good old boy networking kind of thing, that many women and many people of color are just naturally excluded from by just virtue of the color of their skin or their biology or whatever their identity. So just wanted to throw that out there. I have been super lucky and that um, I have a trusted friend who is also a podcast co-host with me. Um, and that's one of the best ways to reduce imposter syndrome is to talk about it. To talk about it with someone with whom you have great trust and hash these things out. You don't have to start a podcast with someone to do this, but just naming it. Before we started recording, we were talking about different health issues, and it's like it would be so much easier if people would just talk about these normal passages of bodily, mental, and physical health, right? Just to talk about it instead of, oh my Lord, that's terrible. And it's like just putting that out in the common vernacular is these are things that happen, or these are passages of life, and let's just talk about it. So for me, imposter syndrome, sort of talking about your insecurities in a safe space. I say that as a super privileged person who can talk about those things
Yep.
and does have a safe space. And I know that that is not true for everyone. Um, and I just want to put that out there. But if it can be true for you, I urge you to explore that and open up to others again when it's safe to do so. And you know what? That is not always the workplace, and let's just be real about that. But there can be other ways and other venues and um, other ways to do that. So I think my advice about that and what's helped me is to actually name it and talk about it. And then it's almost like you're naming it, and in a weird way, you take away its power. So it's no longer this voice in your head that's like, oh my God, who do you think you are? It's like, wow, I'm a little nervous to be here today. Or, man, going to that writers conference filled me with a horror of which I've never known before. And maybe just having some other writer friends, right, that I would talk to about that, or grant writing friends, or women and business owners, or whoever you are, finding your people and talking about that in a safe way.
I concur. Yeah, because I mean, it really breaks my heart to hear from so many successful women, especially in our line of work,
Yeah.
that they feel like an imposter. Whereas from what I'm looking at, I'm thinking, man, you're killing it. Excuse me. And so, as a friend or a colleague, one of the things I want to do, in fact, that's one of part of my New Year's resolution is to be more vocal about encouraging and telling people when I feel like you've done a good job. So whether it's, you know, commenting on LinkedIn or sending a text to a friend like, hey, I attended that webinar and you really killed it. Or, hey, I see you've got this new service line. I hope, I'm so excited for you for branching out for new things, whatever it is. So, because I know one of the things that helped me overcome imposter syndrome was just putting myself out there Because every time, if I write an article and someone responds and says that, that really resonated with me, or thanks for sharing that insight, or when I've volunteered and just whatever I've done, when someone's given me feedback going, that was really helpful to me, that makes me realize like, okay, I don't have to know everything, but the stuff I do know is worth sharing and it is helpful to other people. So, and it also, it bolsters my belief that, okay, I am good at what I do. So, any ways you've gone about in overcoming imposter syndrome?
I think as I was talking about before, just actually talking about it, naming it,
Difference.
and just putting it out there. Especially for me when it came to things like wanting to do deeper work against racism, against white supremacy, and thinking, oh, I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to say the wrong thing, and actually accepting I will say things that are hurtful in ways that I don't understand, or I will make mistakes, or in an artistic area of my life, I am not the best writer in the whole wide world. I mean, and just naming that and being okay with it and looking to learn, because I think perfectionism can come across in a way that you have to be the expert in everything, and that's its own downfall for all kinds of cultural reasons. But I think just naming that and going, no, I will not get it all right, but to not try at all. And also one of the things that you and I do is we talk about what works and what doesn't work. And we have people that we share that with. Because I think it's easy to see, if you see, new training or new workshop, or come to this webinar, and it's like, there may be workshops and webinars that don't sell, that don't happen. There may be books that no one buys, even if it's all good material. And again, if you're in that trusted space where you can go, yeah, this worked, or this really didn't, or I'm doing this and I'm doing that because I want to make sure I've got diverse revenue to meet my family's financial goals. Just being open about it instead of making it look like, oh, it's all a cakewalk and nothing bad ever happens. But that, if you're not okay with that, if you're really struggling with imposter syndrome, that makes it worse. The fear that you're going to fail. And it's like, I feel like if you're not failing at something in this business or creative sphere, then you're not trying. Also, how do you define failure?
Yeah, true story. So, well, I'd like to go back and encourage, if you're listening to this and whether you experience imposter syndrome or not, I think one of the biggest takeaways, hopefully you're getting from this, is that we can lift each other up so that no one's being left feeling like they're an imposter. So I just encourage you to go out and, whether it's like a LinkedIn post, if you found good advice in a blog post, comment on it. If you listen to a podcast you love, give a review. Kimberly and I are so proud. We have perfect 5-star reviews on the Apple Podcast. Now, have we had a ton of people review it? No, but everybody who has is giving us a 5-star. And every comment we've had on the podcast has been super encouraging and super helpful. And again, I'm not saying we get a ton of those and it's coming in and it's pouring from the heavens. We may only get 2 or 3 a year, but when they do, they mean so much. And so that's why I'm encouraging, if you find a way to say something to someone who has created something, to say so. And even bigger, we've had Kimberly and I have had a few times people that have come to us saying, hey, I really enjoy your presentations you do. I would love to do a joint presentation with you, or I'd love to do a joint article because I'm scared to do it by myself. And so if you've got someone asking, I hope you're saying yes to those things, because that's what gives the person the courage so they're not feeling like an imposter the next time around.
Or if you can't say yes to everything,
yes,
helping them, encouraging them, offering to review something that they're doing before they send it out for publication.
Yep.
Connecting them with someone else who is working in the same area.
Yep.
There are lots of things that you can do to be supportive if you don't have the time to say yes to everything.
Absolutely.
And its full extent as presented, just saying.
Yep.
And sort of related to that, I would say for all grant professionals, I would say, is a webinar that Amanda and I presented for the Grant Professionals Association back in January of 2025. And it's all about envisioning yourself as a grant professional, as a leader, Because
Mhm.
in various iterations of presentations and podcasts and just hanging out at conferences and whatever, as an introvert, a lot of people would say, well, I don't want to lead. I'm an introvert. I'm like, there's so many different ways to lead. There's so many, and it's not always yeah, Amanda, she's an extrovert, she's a connector. She will volunteer for leadership positions, right? Because that's her comfort zone and she adds a lot of value. I would maybe not follow that route. Sometimes I want to sort of lead from behind or lead from the middle is what I did a lot before I started my own business, sort of leading in that middle and being putting myself forward as include me in the strategic plannings because I'm the expert on grants and grants are what you need to better serve the community kind of thing. So with that in mind, we put together this webinar and it's free for Grant Professionals Association members. And if you're not a member, I think it's like $49. It's about an hour. And if you're struggling with this, we go through sort of the quandary of Grant Pro as a leader, particularly if you're introverted or you're in middle management or you're aspiring to middle management if it's a large organization and you don't feel like you have a big voice. What are ways that you can work with that and sort of grow your leadership skills without necessarily running to be the leader of all things because that's not always realistic or even a good idea. It could be, creating programs, building budgets, educating from within about the power of grants. All of those things together can constitute some kind of leadership. And also it's fostering and growing our own feelings of competence and ways to help us move out of that sort of perfectionism or super thing, or I have to do it on my own, and it's like, no, maybe just if you can even try and put that aside and sort of keep the ego weirdness out of it and move forward into just doing what you think needs to be done in those situations. When it comes to grants and nonprofits or local governments or grants as a consultant or whatever your role may be. So I hope you'll check that out.
Yeah. Because really, I think grant professionals like that one our Kimberly just mentioned focuses on we bring so much to the table to an organization. We're more than writers, although that in and of itself is a really incredible skill to be able to, through the written word, convey thoughts and information and passion and those kinds of things. So we really shouldn't feel like we're imposters. We bring so much to the table. Now, no judgment if you feel that way, because hello, we've both been there. And I'm not saying I'm imposter syndrome free from here on out, because there are moments, when it still happens to me. But we're here today to tell you you're not an imposter. And if you are someplace that you're not appreciated for all the skills that you're bringing, maybe it's time to start looking around for an organization or a boss or a board or a colleague who fully appreciates all the skills you bring to the table. And please know, I'm not saying quit your job today and go, because I know not everybody, I need a paycheck. Like I have bills to pay. I have a family to help feed. So by no means am I saying, yeah, just quit your job and don't worry about it. You'll find something. But if you're not being appreciated for all you're bringing, and if part of your imposter syndrome is because of the people you're surrounded by day in and day out, maybe it's time to start looking, because there's so many there's so many ways that grant professionals can work. There's so many nonprofits, there's so many local governments and universities and tribal nations and consulting gigs and things that I would want you to find your place where you feel like you're appreciated for all this great work that you're doing. So,
And again, since Amanda and I are different people in how we approach things, she is, and rightfully so, focused on that external recognition, right? That can help her overcome imposter syndrome. So she would probably say life's too short to let someone else make you feel like an imposter.
yeah.
I would say life's too short to be in your own head and let your own feelings of being an imposter hold you back.
Yeah.
So, whatever resonates with you, however you're wired, just know that it is a real thing and it can get in the way of all the good that and positive things and positive energy that you can bring into the world. And we sure could use that. We sure could use that. So we hope that this has maybe been a little inspiring for you to help you overcome imposter syndrome or recognize it in others and maybe help them out.
Yeah. And if you want to reach out and talk to us about like, hey, this is what's going on. You have any advice? Again, we are not experts. We are not psychiatrists. We are not we're not life coaches, but we've been there and we're in we're in a similar field as you, most likely, if you're listening to this podcast. So you can always reach out, hello@haydayservices.com. We are always happy to talk about our podcast episodes and things that are going on with our listeners. So if this really resonated with you, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again to today's sponsor, Kim Joyce & Associates. If you want to learn more about their many service offerings, visit kimjoyceandassociates.com. That's KIMJOYCE and associates.com.
So we really hope that today's episode maybe was a little thought-provoking, maybe putting you in a different mindset of things that you can do for yourself, for others, to just help us get past the brain dirt of imposter syndrome and just clear out all that dust and dust bunnies and dirt and just get to getting like we can all do.
We're honored you chose to spend time with us today. Join us again in 2 weeks where we are speaking with our friend David Lindeman. He is another speaker from Grant Summit. David was able to use Grant Awards to help fund the awards and prizes programs within his organization. We'd never heard of that before, so we had to talk to him about it. It was fascinating.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot. So yeah. I hope you tune in for that.
Yeah. So we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye, y'all.